This changes everything for the Phoenix Suns. As we all know, Kevin Durant is going to be reevaluated with a calf strain in 2 weeks. And the superstar MVP candidate is going to be out for the foreseeable future. So who will step up in that starting lineup role and who will be able to take over? Will it be a player in Royce O'Neal who's looked really, really solid off the bench for the Suns this season? Or is it young rookie Ryan Dunn, who has emerged himself as a top rookie prospect this season? We'll be diving into all of this, exploring what Mike Budenholzer might make, and ultimately going over the Kevin Durant situation as a whole. All of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Velez, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic in showing your love and support for the channel. CJ and I are really, really appreciative of all the hard work you guys have been doing, and we really do appreciate all those kind comments down below. So if you do enjoy the content, keep hitting that like button to stay in the Suns algorithm, and keep dropping down your thoughts as we'll be breaking them down and reading them back. But without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. We're going to be diving in on this news here. As we all know, Kevin Durant yesterday was announced that he is going to be out for 2 weeks. So let's dive in and let's look at the report. Like I said, Shams Charania came out yesterday and said that Phoenix Suns star Kevin Durant, who was off to an MVP caliber start to the NBA season, suffered a left calf strain on a Friday night game when the Suns took on the Dallas Mavericks, and he will miss and be reevaluated in 2 weeks, sources tell ESPN. Durant has led the Suns to first place start in the Western Conference at 8-1. And for Durant this season, he's had a superstar-like-esque season, being that top player on the Suns, being super, super clutch in game time moments, delivering key times in the clutch, bringing that game to overtime on the season opener versus the Clippers, and ultimately just leading this team as its main scorer and offensive focal point, averaging 27.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 3.4 assists a game on almost 1.5 blocks and almost a steal a game as well, shooting 55% from the field and 42% from three. At 36 years old, Kevin Durant was really showcasing that he was not only one of the best players in the league, but doing it at a pretty decent age as well, at 36 years old. Let's not forget that Kevin Durant, he's not just one of the best scorers in the league, but he's also one of the older stars in the league as well. To be able to see him continuing to do this and looking in his prime is key for Suns fans, specifically with players like Devin Booker, who haven't gotten to the best offensive start this season for the Suns as well. But this is going to be a hurtful thing for the Suns, as we all know, as arguably their best player this season is now going to be out, and a calf strain is not something to take lightly. We all know Kevin Durant, looking at his body size, a little bit taller, a little bit skinnier, dealing with a calf strain could be a little bit portrayed and added on to, and maybe not be out for 2 weeks and might have to be reevaluated in the future distance, which is not good for Suns fans. But the Suns, as we all know, have a tough team and have a very deep team this season, as we've seen so far, with players like Ryan Dunn, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, Josh Okogie stepping up in points. We've even seen players like Bradley Beal, and Yusuf Nurkic look like reinversions of themselves this season, and it's all gotten the Suns to that top seed in the Western Conference so far. And we'll have to see how they bounce back and how these other players play through it. I'm believing in them, and with Coach Budenholzer, I still think that this squad will be able to handle themselves out on these nights. But let's go and let's dive in to see who the Suns are going to be playing with Kevin Durant out. So if we want to look off the timetable of 2 weeks, this is courtesy of Dwayne Rankin. Kevin Durant will mix the next 7 games in 11 days for the Suns. In those games, they obviously will take on the Kings, which they take on today as of recording. Tuesday versus the Jazz, Wednesday against the Kings once again, Friday at the Thunder, Sunday at the T-Wolves, November 18th versus the Magic, and November 20th versus the Knicks. So he's asking, what do you think the record is going to be with and without Durant? And going up against some Kings teams, some Jazz teams, some Thunder, T-Wolves, Magic, Knicks, the Suns do have, some tough teams in front of them. Luckily for them, the Magic and the Knicks have dealt with some injuries of their own, and the Jazz are a little bit of a weaker team in this Western Conference. Ultimately, I think, in my prediction for how the Suns will finish, is I think that they'll be able to win today versus the Kings, and I think they'll win Tuesday as well. I think they'll lose Wednesday at Sacramento and Friday at Oklahoma City. but they'll be able to pull through versus the Timberwolves, versus the Magic, and versus the Knicks. So in these 7 games, I'm going to say that the Suns are going to go 5-2, but ultimately the Suns, I think if they have a 500 record without Kevin Durant, that will be key as they are still going up against some tough teams and will need to deliver in a tough Western Conference. As we've mentioned, this Western Conference is deep, and even though the Suns are at top at 8-1, there are a lot of teams that are close to them, so they will have to still continue to keep this win streak alive if they want to be competent in this Western Conference. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the Kevin Durant injury. I'm sorry I couldn't break that out yesterday, but I wanted to make sure we still got some news out on that. But let's get into some more other parts of diving into this, which is who's going to step up for this Suns team. As we all know, with Kevin Durant out, there is going to be a big hole in this starting lineup. We already have seen Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Yusuf Nurkic get the run in the starting 5. But now with this forward spot open, who is going to come through and who is going to deliver? So let's dive in and let's look at the forward spot for the Suns, courtesy of Spot Track. Looking at the positions, that says the Suns have 4 forwards under roster. Those 4 forwards would be Kevin Durant, Royce O'Neal, Ryan Dunn, and Bol Bol. And I do expect players like Ryan Dunn and Royce O'Neal to see that immersion, and we'll see who ultimately gets that starting spot tonight. But a player to also discuss and look at is Bol Bol, as he's a player that hasn't been given that many minutes this season and has kind of fallen through the cracks into that 3rd rotational spot. But with Durant out and with needing one of those players in Dunn or Royce O'Neal to start for this Suns team, Bol Bol could get some clear action off the bench, and that could be key in his development and kind of figuring out what he could bring for the Suns this season. We've already seen Mike Budenholzer already teeter and totter with Yusuf Nurkic and even change his game around from the start of the season, which I will admit I was wrong on once again. But ultimately, we've seen Tyus Jones be a key impact, and Mike Budenholzer has used some of these pieces like Mason Plumlee and some of these end-of-the-bench guys to really unlock their true skill set, specifically with the rookies as well. So I ultimately do think that with a player like Bol Bol, he can get that offensive system going. Maybe we could see Bol Bol with Yusuf Nurkic like we heard we would see throughout the season. Maybe we can see some of those lineups going through. Ultimately, I do not know what is going to happen with Bol Bol, but I do expect him to get some more runtime, and that could be key for the Suns in finding a hidden gem. If not, ultimately, that could make the Suns realize that Bol Bol is a trade piece and someone that doesn't need to fit on their roster, and they could move him by trade deadline. But the real question is, and something that we need to get into as well, is how confident are we in starting and who is going to get this starting job here for the Suns? Because if Durant is going to be out, we are going to have to have someone step up big. And we already know Beal and Booker are going to have to step up on that offensive side, but someone else is going to have to step up on that defensive side. So let's look at those 2 forwards and kind of analyze who should take that starting spot for the Suns going into the season, and kind of giving you guys my predictions on who will get that spot. So let's dive in and let's look at this. First, let's look at Royce O'Neal. Now, Royce O'Neal, like I said, was brought in last season, halfway through the season as a 3-and-D wing. Didn't really fit the best that well with the Suns on the fly throughout the playoffs, but ultimately I felt like if he had a full off season to get comfortable with this squad, get comfortable with the coach of Mike Budenholzer, he'd be a perfect fit for this squad, and he truly has been off the bench. He's a player that could arguably be in those 6-Man of the Year candidate award race. He's averaging 10.5 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 2.3 assists, with almost a block and steal per game, while shooting 53% from the field and 53% from 3-point range. My, oh my, he is shooting lights out for this team. We saw Grayson Allen be that bona fide 3-point shooter for the Suns off the bench last season. It is Royce O'Neal's time this year, as he's shooting 70% on corner threes, where 100% of his threes are assisted and 61% of his shots are 3-pointers this season. He is really lighting up from 3-point range, but not only lighting up from 3-point range, but playing some solid defense as well. And if we want to look at the rookie Ryan Dunn as well, he has really blossomed and showcased how he could be even better than a prediction of a Herb Jones or a Jaden McDaniels type-esque wing for this Suns team, which we had for the beginning of the season. He is putting fans on notice that he could be even a potential star wing for this Suns squad. But 6.8 points for the year, 2.3 rebounds, almost an assist per game, shooting 45% from the field, 39% from 3-point range. Dunn has looked really solid. Now, Dunn versus Dallas was dealing with an ankle injury and was shown shooting and looking mobile, but the Suns wanted to be precautious and wanted to hold him out. The Suns have also dealt with some injuries, some minor ones here and there with Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic going into the off season, but I believe that this Suns team is going to patch up those edges and be fully fine to go throughout the year. Now, when we kind of look at this situation and discussing who should be getting in that spot, I ultimately think that it's going to go to Royce O'Neal, as Royce O'Neal, in my opinion, is a player that has that confidence, has that infrastructure of being an NBA player and being a starter. Now, Ryan Dunn, you might want to see him start to kind of give him that motion, give him that opportunity to kind of showcase his skills. But I think if he comes off the bench still and learns and understands how to take that six-man role and that best forward wing off the bench role first, I think that will only guarantee him to get better and better for this Suns team in the future. I don't want to rush him, put him in the starting lineup, and just ask him to do some big-time tasks, and maybe he fails or maybe he gets more injured trying to take up that bigger workload. I'd rather him come off the bench and give that role to Royce O'Neal, as he's already proved it, as he has been looking fantastic so far off the bench for the Suns as that 3-and-D wing, that perfect three-point shooter, and can really implement himself to being that extra score and extra additive to this Suns offense. Now, obviously, he's not going to be a plug and play for Durant's automatic scoring. I do expect Beal and Booker to kind of take over that role of 1 and 2, but maybe a player like Royce O'Neal can still provide that 15 to 18 points per game to be that third or fourth scorer for this Suns team to really keep them on edge, and that's something that I'd really like to see. I do feel confident with Royce O'Neal kind of inserting himself into that lineup, having Ryan Dunn come off the bench. He's still a rookie. He still has things to learn. Even though he has been exciting and has showcased and blossomed some really, really great intangible skills of being a fantastic defender and really utilizing that three-point shot where Mike Budenholzer has truly unlocked him, I do believe the fact of the matter is that he still is young. He still can learn some things, and Royce O'Neal has that veteran leadership underneath him, and I think could be that perfect replacement for Durant in that role. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Obviously, there was a lot to break down in this video. We went over the Durant injury, so how are you guys feeling about the initial reactions? How do you guys feel about the record going into the season? How do you feel about the next couple games without Durant? And who do you think should get the start? Do you think it should be Dunn? Do you think it should be Royce? Who do you think it should be down below in the comment section, and why you believe they deserve that start? We'll ultimately see as the Suns take on the Kings this afternoon, and it'll be an absolutely fantastic game to break down. So catch you guys later. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everyone.